it all began with this man. His name is Rolf. He was like the big visionary of the whole project. And basically what was going on was that in Costa Rica, we didn't have the option to be truly sustainable in terms of buying our food and the things to support a sustainable lifestyle in the city. Pretty much all the food system was dominated by intermediaries, mainly supermarkets, and even in some of the farmers' markets, the farmers were pushed away by the intermediaries. So he had a vision to create the most beautiful market we could possibly imagine. And that's kind of how we start our adventure together, you know, like really dreaming, you know, what is the most beautiful market you can possibly create. So one of the, well, this is how it looks. It happens, we have 2 markets now. This is the one happening every Saturday morning. And an important thing was that we wanted to create a food system where you could actually connect with the people that grow your food. So we're talking about food with names and surnames. So for example, this is Don Sergio. He's a traditional Costa Rican farmer. And every week, twice a week, I have the opportunity to connect with them on a human level. So it's not just the provider of my tomatoes. It's not an impersonal produce. It's actually a human relationship that I develop with them. So we have about 140 vendors at these 2 markets. There are food artisans like Maggie, ranging from cheese, bread, all sorts of like processed food, honey. We also have a whole section about restaurants where we serve traditional and more cosmopolitan food, ranging from, this is traditional Caribbean Costa Rican food by Mariana. And we have other more like, you know, kind of like hipster bakers with, you know, like really innovative dishes. This is kind of like our food court where we put tables together in a way that people are sort of forced to share and connect with each other. Because one of the very important things that we're promoting through this market is that you would create community. This is another view of the food court. We also have all sorts of products ranging from cosmetics, pottery, jewelry, design, clothing. So basically we're trying to create a comprehensive offer of all the things that you need to be truly sustainable in the city. Live music every single week. This is so this view is from our Saturday market, and on Tuesdays evenings we have this other market in a different location. So here there's a full band playing. We also promote activism within the market because we see it as a place of encounter. So for example, this is a permaculture group doing seed exchange, which is very important now in these times where we have such a push of corporate control over seeds. These kind of grassroots movements are really promoting to preserve the diversity of seeds that we have inherited from thousands of years of agriculture. This is another activism project called Draw Your River, where we invite adults and children to draw how they would like to see the river, which is just behind this fence. There's one of the most polluted rivers in the city running through. So it's a way to start the conversation about like the poor state of this river in the city. And you can notice that you have like childlike drawings. And then in the upper level, you see a more elaborate adult. So the parents are also engaging in the same exercise. We have activities for children on a regular basis, yoga classes, hula hula club. We have a recycling center where people can also bring their recyclables, and we take them then pass it to like a proper recycling center, because in our city we don't have a proper recycling system. So we basically decided to take it in our hands. And sometimes there's things as random as a shamanic ceremony. And we're also very open to all sorts of these kind of like surprises. To me, it's very important to say that this all happened out of a group of really committed citizens, that we were not satisfied with the status quo of how the system was providing, you know, the food and the market in general, but we were completely ignorant of the subject. We didn't know how to do it. We didn't have the resources, the expertise, and nonetheless, it was through creating this community of passionate people that we were able to create it. So, in a way that now, 6 years later, about 130 vendors in the first market, 70 vendors in the second market, about 3,000 consumers that we actually call them enjoyers. So 3,000 of them come combined to these two markets, creating an economy that we estimate goes kind of in the $3 million range a year. And this is all fair trade that is happening directly between co-creators and enjoyers. And it's creating a very disruptive approach. I one time had one of the owners of one of the biggest supermarket chains telling me, like kind of joking, he was saying, Francisco, you guys should stop this market thing. It's terrible for business. And I replied, well, I suppose it all depends. It's terrible for whose business, because my farmers are actually thriving. Without even knowing, we unconsciously start hacking a lot of the things to make this market possible. So, for example, we started with the structures, the tents. We thought, if you want an ecological market, then you need an ecological shelter. And this is our first prototype. This is on the desk. And eventually we did it with bamboo. And these like unions are bicycle tires. And these nuts over here are the inner tubes of trucks that we cut in stripes and then put it all together. This was the first time we were like trying to build the one, you know, like a real scale. And this is how they look now. So every week we put up and down about 70 of these tents. And for me, it's really important because it is also creating like a statement of what is it that we want. You know, it's, oh, by the way, the roofs are all recycled billboards from those huge billboards in the street. We end up hacking our own tables, because the commercial tables, one little thing breaks and then you have to discard the whole thing. So we thought, well, actually it's better if we build them ourselves. We create jobs in our local community, and if they break, then we repair them ourselves. The tops are recycled Tetra Pak material, and the rest is wood. And then for the second market, we had this big roof, which used to be like an old marketplace, but we needed proper illumination system. So with a maker's space, we designed these lamps. They are all laser cutted, and and they are joined with a big bamboo stick here. So one end of the bamboo has like it connects to the next one, kind of like in like this Christmas lights kind of concept. And so we can connect 150 lamps in a matter of an hour and a half. And then we were inspired by organic shapes. So for example, this is the onion lamp. This is the strawberry lamp. This is the squash lamp. And this one here is the cacao lamp. So we were all, you know, like doing our own hardware that really suits our purpose and that gives us control. If it breaks, then we do it ourselves. Reflecting on what we did, and again, we did this just because we felt that, you know, like longing, that desire. But now looking back, and when I was preparing for the talk, I realized, like, oh my God, we were also hacking the way we do things, you know. So this, for me, it's a very important one, the burning heart. So typically, if you have like an NGO or any kind of organization, you need a director's board, which has a president and a secretary, a treasurer, and blah, blah, blah. We were just a group of like kind of dreamers, and we wanted to create something new and disruptive. So at the beginning, we didn't have a director's board. We just simply gathered, and so a group of really passionate people came together every week and discussed what is it that we want for the market. Where should we take it? You know, like all the big decisions were done in this group, and we self-proclaimed the group as the burning heart, because we were the ones like keeping the kindle, keeping the fire. And it's just basically a group of friends. Then we realized that we were starting to get in trouble with the system, you could call, because you know, years have gone by. We don't have a director's board. Our legal, like the legal side of our organization is failing to comply a lot of things that the state is demanding. So we basically came with this idea of being bilingual. And I think that is a really important thing in the context of hacking, because we're trying to create these parallel systems, but at the end of the day, we live in an official system. You know, like we, physically speaking, we are also embedded in what we call Babylon. So we had to translate from heart language, which is burning heart, to Babylon language, which is director's board and, you know, like tax forms and oh my God, I don't have the word in English, but all the legalities that you have to comply to be in peace with the government. And so that is kind of like the Babylon language. So in practice, Burning Heart is the one who takes all the important decisions. And then once a month, we have a proper director's board who basically writes down in legal tender all the decisions that were done by the Burning Heart. And then the Burning Heart is a much more opened figure for people to get involved. Then we have a management structure where we don't have like a boss. So what we did was we had our team and we said, okay, so each one will take certain responsibilities. So you have your area of focus, and then you will work on that. But then we would come together and we would all discuss, like, hey, for example, I was in operations, so I was in charge to make sure that you put up and down the tents, that the tables are all right, and so on. But if I have any question or I didn't feel sure about what decision to make, then I would go to my management team and say, hey guys, you know, like I'm having this dilemma, what do you think about it? And so we kept this very horizontal way of self-organizing. This guy over here is like, he's an angel. He's the one in charge of physically putting up and down the two markets. And it's one of the hardest jobs I've ever witnessed. So we came up with this mission, which is to create spaces of encounter taken care of with values of sustainability and well-being. So we were saying, you know, like, now the market is this abstract thing that seems to be governed by solely by money. You know, like, if it makes money, it's okay, and if it doesn't, it's not. And we felt that that is profoundly dysfunctional. So we came with this idea that money is not a value. Money is just a tool. And if you use it as a value, then you pretty much get in the mess that we're right now. So we proposed a series of values which are kind of like the criteria of how we allow people to come into the market. And basically, this is what we expect from them. So locally co-created, proper scale, the commons, open sourcing, celebration, family agriculture. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can. Activism, I really like this, the delicious. You know, it's so important to bring this kind of quality to our lives. And it's not just about money. It's not just about, you know, which one is a better deal and so on. It's more about what is creating a truly sustainable lifestyle based on well-being, you know, because at the end of the day, it's about being happy. So years pass by, and then again, looking back, we were like, man, like this project is so much more than just selling. It's so much more than just the market. So we came up with these philosophical principles that reflect the work that we had been intuitively doing. So the first one, there's no order of importance, is abundance for everyone. We live, our current system is so discriminatory and basically pushes so many people to the edges of poverty, and we think that's not all right. You know, like, we want to live in a system where everybody has access to abundance. You know, we're not egalitarian, but we do believe that there's a certain level that we should all have access to a dignified life. Concordance in diversity means that we can recognize that we can be extremely different from one another, but at the same time, there's so much common ground, and we can start working from that common ground and moving forward. The power of encounter, and this is one thing that I've been amazed to see in this Congress, which is if you bring a lot of people together with shared values, especially if you do it on a regular basis, then that's where real power happens. That's where, you know, where ideas, friendships, business, romance, everything, you know, like really starts kind of like resonating because you become part of that tribe and you recognize each other. And that is really where we see power happening. The politics of desire. So instead of complaining about what we lack, what we don't have, the things that are wrong, which have a space. I mean, I'm not undermine saying that that is completely wrong to do, but what we're saying is that we feel that it's a much better approach to identify what are our true desires. You know, where do we want to get? And from that point, exercise politics, which is basically relating to others to make that happen. And reverence for the spirit of the earth, because at the end of the day, absolutely everything comes from the earth. You know, like, if you look around, there's nothing that doesn't come from the earth. And if we don't start treating earth with some like respect and even reverence, then the sustainability movement, in my opinion, is lost. You know, like, we have to redefine the way that we relate to Mother Earth. So, as you see, I come from this more analog hacking world. And but I've been very inspired to be here and see so much potential and enthusiasm. So I thought, you know, what are the things that I really would love to see being implemented, and then creating this bridge between my analog world and more of your digital world. And I think there are really exciting opportunities that we can explore together. So, well, obviously an alternative currency. In my market, there is only one vendor who accepts Bitcoins. And I asked him, have you ever sold anything in Bitcoins? And he told me like once, yeah. I had it was a foreign guy, and he bought a piece of jewelry and he paid with Bitcoins. And I was like, man, you know, like, that's quite something, you know, because in Costa Rica, Bitcoins are quite unknown. You know, maybe you've heard it once or twice in the news, but for the most part, is an unknown thing. And truly, I don't know, you know, like how to implement this. To me, it sounds like a really cool idea. It feels it is moving on the right way, but I actually don't have a clue on how to implement it. It was yesterday. I needed like a Bitcoin 101 to use my card and put money into it, and then buy a coffee. And so I think there's a great opportunity here to collaborate. Then a web-based marketplace that it's also open sourced. So often farmers have to deal with this uncertainty that they have to harvest, then bring it to the market and cross their fingers that it will sell. So there's a different way, another opportunity where we could basically have like an digital marketplace where they sell before harvesting, then therefore reducing the risk, and bringing the already sold products to the marketplace where you can still meet and know each other. Then open sourcing. So this is one thing that we've been wanting to do, but again, because we're not that tech savvy, we really don't know how to go about it. So these tents that we did with bamboo and recycled bicycle tires and the tables and pretty much everything we've done, we have this like longing of making it open source and available to other people who want to create this sort of markets. But again, we really don't know how to go about it. Even if you see our website, it's a bit shameful. You know, it seems like a 15-year-old like a website that, I mean, there's a lot of room of improvement. And then the other thing are hackathons, which is something that I just recently discovered. The possibility of blending like these land-based necessities with the makerspace digital potential to create tools that are appropriate for small-scale farming, which is something that is surprisingly hard to find. Typically, farming tools are this huge machinery, which are, you know, are in the logic of monocultures and industrial farming. But for organic, family-scale, small farms, there is very little tools available. And I think that that's another bridge that the digital hacker world can contribute to these more land-based projects. And one thing that I missed before was, by doing this approach to a market, then you have more of a kind of like peer-to-peer relationship between the co-creators and the enjoyers. So for example, a lot of the enjoyers that come to the market, when they travel, they bring seeds. And they say, could you please grow this for me? You know, once you have it, I will for sure buy it from you, and then that creates an even greater market. And this is the case of for you, kale is something that is really common, but in Costa Rica was pretty much unknown before this market, and it was exactly this relationship that was able to introduce kale in Costa Rica. Now it's like super popular, and lots of farmers grow it. So it's redefining that relationship that is more based on a community of shared interest and less of a transaction of unknown people. So thank you very much. And I don't know if anybody has questions.
Anyone ready? Have you prepared questions?
Thank you very much. That was great, something that really touched my heart. I didn't hear the beginning though. Where did you get the money to start everything? Because it seems we live in the Czech Republic, in very small town where there is a lot of land, people have no jobs, there are a lot of people who know how to farm. I don't, so I really don't know how to start something like this, but we come across the same problem every time, every year. I actually, if I want to buy organic food, organic vegetable, I have to actually bring it from Prague, which is crazy, completely crazy. So we've been thinking about something like that, but we don't know how to start it or where to get money, because I assume you needed some money to start this.
So the first part of our process was just this burning heart, just coming together and really trying to dream it and have like a, like the concept and a strategy. And then we were looking for money and we couldn't find it, and we couldn't find it, and we couldn't find it. And then eventually one day we said, you know what, screw this, we're just gonna put a date and we're gonna say that we're gonna open, and we're gonna just expect a miracle. And what happened was we set up a date, and then randomly I met the ambassador of the UK in Costa Rica. I went to this presentation, he gave a talk that actually inspired me, and at the end of the thing I went backstage. I just infiltrated to the backstage and looked for him and said, hey, I have this idea of a market, and would you be willing to come to our office? We'll share an organic lunch with you and tell you about our story. And so we showed him like the little model at this meeting, and he said, well, if you build one true scale, I will consider helping you. We built the thing, asked for the second meeting, and when he got there, he was quite impressed. He said, wow, this is a really cool tent. So when would you need the money? And by that time, if I remember correctly, we were 3 weeks from the opening day, and we still had no money, no tents, and no clue. And we said, well, in 3 weeks we're going to open the market, so we need the money as soon as possible. And he said, oh my God, no, this is impossible. The embassy has never given money so quickly. And I said, Mr. Ambassador, how can I say this? We believe in miracles. And we asked for one, and then you showed up. So, at this point, it's pretty much up to you. And he was quite baffled by the reply. But the truth is that less than a week after, we got $5,000. And that's what it really took in money, $5,000 to build a tent, the first generation. We started with just 20-something vendors. Now it's 130-something. But when we started, it was just 20-something vendors and maybe a couple hundred enjoyers coming every week. And then it just grew exponentially from that point on. After that, once we were open and we were more, we had some sort of reputation, the UN gave us $20,000 to get a place to put the tents, like a little container warehouse kind of thing, and build some more tents and other stuff. And then, but for the most part, it was just money that we created through the event. So each vendor pays a fee to be there, and just, you know, a lot of volunteering work though. Yeah, so that's why you need a burning heart. You know, this cannot happen on a conventional commercial scheme. It would be a terrible business.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask you, did you face any problem inside your team when you're starting? So regarding communication between you and so on. Thanks.
We face problems at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. Right now, it's, you know, it's a. The thing that I learned was that even if you have a group of people that you truly love and you truly admire, just by the sheer interaction, you get in trouble. You know, like there's misunderstandings. There's everybody's holding their own issues, and then when you combine your issues with their issues, then sometimes it can be a bit explosive. At the end of the day, it was about really trying to stay with an open heart, you know, and truly speak from your heart and say, like, you know what, when you said or did this, I interpreted this way and made me feel in this other way. So, you know, also taking responsibility of your feelings and your interpretation, because what I found is that often it was just the interpretation part that created the most of the conflict. It wasn't the actions themselves, but more of the interpretation. And when the other person says, "Oh, well, actually what I meant was this or that," or what I was trying to accomplish was, you know. So things slowly settle down, and at the end you end up with a more mature group of people. But definitely conflicts are, you know, at the order of the day. Yeah.
I'm guessing in your cities that there are supermarkets and other outlets for crappy globalized food that's really cheap. So I'm wondering what the price differential is between the Feria Verde and the global systems, and whether poor people actually come to the Feria Verde.
That's a great question. So what happens in Costa is that we have farmers markets that have been hijacked by like intermediaries, and they sell at a price that is basically driving small farmers to poverty, bankruptcy. They're losing their land, and it's a pretty tragic situation. If you compare our prices to their prices, we are 50% more expensive. If you go to an upper class supermarket and buy like not organic, just conventional products, it's roughly the same price range. So one of the criticisms we've faced is that our produce is pricey. To that, it really breaks my heart that there are people who cannot pay the fair price for something, but then the real problem is not that we are selling too expensively, because I deeply believe that we're selling at the point where we are allowing our producers to have a dignified life and cover all the production costs. There's no externalized costs going on. They're taking full responsibility of their ecological footprint. So I think that we're selling at the fair price. The problem is that there are poor people, and that's a wider problem. So if you don't have a lot of money, I have seen people that come to my market and they find like creative ways. And if you're really committed to eating organic, then there are other strategies. So, for example, you can volunteer, well, not volunteer, but work with the vendors at the market. So you get like a massive discount or even like free produce. If you have a garden, you can mingle with them and get, you know, like tips and seeds and certain things to grow your food in your garden or a part of it. There's a new movement of community gardens where you can get involved and again get access to this food. But in a monetized way, if you are poor, you basically cannot go to this market, unfortunately. Yeah.
Anyone else wants to ask a question? Don't be shy. If not, we still have time, so I will ask a question. What would you say are the major differences between these markets in Costa Rica and the fair markets or farmers markets here in Europe?
Well, the main difference that I see is that I'm going to talk from the markets that I've seen in Europe. I don't know if it's a valid generalization, but the ones that I've seen are typically quite small, and you have strictly just the vending part. So you have the producer, and you know, you do have that relationship that comes along with meeting the people who produce your food, and that's beautiful. But then in our proposal, it's much more holistic in the sense that we have like a recycling center, we have like activism activities, there are sports activities, arts activities. There is a wider offer, so it's not just produce, but there's also like clothing, toys, cosmetics, housekeeping products. There's like a restaurant with a food court. So at the end, it has a feel more like a big celebration. And actually, that's one very crucial part of the success of this market is that it has a feel of like a big party. You go there and it's so fun and you meet so much people and it's, you know, like there's so many things to do, and so you can buy your food and then you can spend 3 or 4 more hours just mingling and, you know, meeting people, tasting things and just socializing. And in that sense, I think has this community building component that I haven't seen as present in like other like farmers markets here in Europe and also in other countries that I've been. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone wants to react?
Well, do you have any program, or would it be possible to come to visit you and learn what you are doing and kind of, you know, see like an internship or something, you know?
Not officially, but I suppose that if you want to go, we can just figure something out. Yeah, yeah, but we don't have like an official training program. One of my dreams is to create a like a digital, like a video workshop kind of thing. So you wouldn't need to fly to the other side of the world, that you could actually just download a set of videos and know how to build a tent, how to relate to your farmers, how to do the organic certificate like management, how to reach out to the community, and so on, you know, like all the different aspects of what we do. I would love to have that being like completely open source. In the format of video. That's one of my many dreams. And I also want to invite any, you know, if you have any knowledge on the wish list, to please approach me and, you know, like, let's start a conversation about it. Oh, my email address. I suppose you can meet me right outside here. It's, well, I don't know if this would be helpful, but it's quite easy. It's francisco@feriaverde.org. Uy. Oh my God, there's a lot. So this is Feria Verde, this is a V. So francisco@feriaverde.org. That's my email. And I will mingle around as well. I'll be here today and tomorrow.
Well, we still have time for one last question. Does anyone want to ask a question? Okay. My last question. As for the farmers, do they do it for living? Is being the farmers, the sellers at these markets, is it their main source of income, or are they still dependent on the supermarkets, or is it just a hobby for them? Or?
Thanks for asking that. The farmers, like the typical story of my farmers was they were a conventional farmer. They got terribly sick. They almost died. And then by health issues, they became organic. Then they were struggling even more because, a small farmer with higher production costs and so on. And it was until they found this market with a different kind of like a public and people who really value their work, they multiplied their income several times. So for example, Don Sergio, this guy here, he lost about half of his farm before the market. He was about to lose the second half of his farm. And on the regular market, he was doing like something like $35 to $70 a week. So Costa Rica is not a cheap country, by the way. So $70 a week is pretty much extreme poverty. When he started the market, like 1 year after being at the Feria Verde and having people who truly value his work, he is making now somewhere in between $400 and $700 a week. Just because he has access to 3,000 people, that come and really value his. So now he's debt-free. He was able to support his daughter that got really sick because of the early exposure to agrochemicals in her childhood. And same as Don Sergio, like many of my farmers have this kind of like similar story of how they were basically in a horrible economical crisis. And it was through accessing a market that truly valued their work that they were able to make a dignified living. So the quick answer to your question is yes, this is their livelihood. The market represents their main income. And through the market, they did a lot of connections with other businesses like restaurants and hotels and so on that complement that income. We estimated that about 500 people receive their main income related to the Feria Verde. So, and when if you put this in perspective, like 500 people, you could say 500 jobs in the sense that is the livelihood of 500 people that came out of a project of a bunch of like dreaming hippies who started with $5,000 and just a lot of volunteering time. I believe it's truly remarkable. If you go to the government as a company and say, I will bring 500 jobs, they put the red carpet for you, that you get all sorts of benefits. But if you're just a small group of committed citizens, it's quite a different road. And so I believe that, I feel very proud actually that we were able to create this through such a little, with such a humble beginning, yeah.
Congratulations then, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jacob.
for choosing this session.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day.